Hi guys. So I'm out here between the storms here. I mean, it's kind of stormy. See up there. But today's Q&A, I didn't actually ask a question in the group or do a poll because I had a client, a student in Heels. She posted a question I thought really matters to all of us. And that question is, why do I ignore the red flags that I see when I'm in a relationship with someone that's unhealthy for me? This is really critical, because this is a subtle way in which we sabotage ourselves and the way we get in the way of our own happiness. And so, why we do that? There's a couple of reasons that come, obvious when you're doing this kind of work. You start to see it really fast. And the first reason is we are scared of being alone. Now, this loneliness isn't like the typical, like, oh, I'm alone, this sad, sucks kind of thing. This is the internalized, pathological loneliness where we believe ourselves not to be connected to anybody, including ourselves. So we feel a deep dread of isolation emotionally. And so this subtly pushes us towards keeping relationships, because then we won't be alone. We won't have to grapple with that emptiness inside of ourselves, or that brash, hot heat of being isolated. So that's one of the big primary factors that come into this kind of sabotage. The second one is we think that they'll change. We're willing to tolerate a huge amount of dysfunction in our lives because we hope they'll change, but then we don't have to change if they change. And so we get ourselves stuck in this interesting cycle of rescuing and fixing, and then we find ourselves stuck in these relationships that don't work well for us. And they're unhealthy and toxic. So we gotta be really mindful about never fixing someone or hoping they'll change or trying to change them. This is one of the most toxic aspects of codependency, is we sabotage our own well-being, our own happiness, in trying to save somebody else from things that they willingly choose to be and do. And letting go of the importance of maximizing a relationship that way is really important. What I mean by that, by maximizing the relationship, is that we make it the ultimate priority in our lives. And relationships at a certain point deserve to be priority, but not the maximum priority. Maximum priority should always be ourselves first. Okay, so let's talk about that for a moment. We, as codependents, always choose ourselves last, right? And so last never really comes because there's always somebody else in front of us. And it's like, oh, there's this problem, and there's that problem, and this problem, and this person, and this thing. So we never get to us. Narcissists only put themselves first, period. They're the only person that ever happens to be in their life. Healthy people put themselves first. That means that they start with their own opinion, basically. How do I feel about this? What do I think about this? What do I want in this? And then they see where the other person's coming from, and then they contribute in that way. They contribute to that person in a way that's healthy, proactive, and consensual. So they ask, they involve themselves, with asking, with consensuality. So they're not fixing, they're not rescuing, they're just saying, hey, here we are, that's what we're doing. I see you need help, would you like some help with that? That kind of thing. But they're finding out first if they want to do the help. See, that's the key. And this comes back into that priority, those two first priorities, the two rights from personal autonomy. You have the right to take up space, and you have the right not to care. When we give ourselves that kind of power, then we can make honest, genuine connection and decisions for ourselves. So another reason why we stay in relationships with red flags is because we don't believe the red flag. We go into a state of denial. And that's because it scares us to acknowledge that we're in a situation that's unhealthy for us. Especially if we've been repeating this kind of pattern over and over and over. And we think we're trying to make progress, we're trying to heal in it, but we keep doing this over and over. That gets scary, that gets uncomfortable, because now we're wondering what we're doing wrong, because there is something wrong when that starts happening in our lives. So sometimes we don't want to deal with it. Sometimes we want to avoid it. And that connects to the other reason. If there's a problem in the relationship and we're avoidant of conflict, we don't like conflict, why it's just so much easier to just set it aside and not think about the conflict, right? So that's another reason why we dismiss red flags, is we don't want to deal with the problem. We don't want to deal with the pain. We don't want to deal with the consequence that comes with it. So that's what we need to be really, really, really mindful about ourselves when we're in relationships. Where are we making exceptions that we shouldn't be making exceptions? What kind of things are we allowing or tolerating that hurt? We really have to tune into that. We've got to be able to acknowledge our hurt, or we're not going to get healthy, period. This is one big reason why in Heal, I'm constantly emphasizing contact back with the body, back with our feelings. That's why several of the modules are dedicated to validation of what we're experiencing. So we can get acknowledgement if we can start acknowledging our feelings and being really upfront and honest with those feelings. I'm like, this hurt, I didn't like it. And then we can start drawing boundaries effectively and choosing to stay or leave relationships based on what's going on rather than based on what we fear. So that's today's live Q&A, guys. Thank you for being a part of the group. Remember, you're worth loving, you're worth knowing, and you're worth keeping. Let me know if you have any other questions. We'll talk next week, guys, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.